Okay, ladies, today we are going to look at Chapter 6 in Wheelock. This includes the present, imperfect, and future of two verbs. The first one being the irregular verb to be, sum esse fui futorum, and the second one being a compound of sum, possum posse patui. In addition, we'll also look at the complementary infinitive. Now, the verb to be, sum esse fui futorum, is irregular. It is also a linking verb, and I know we've gone over this before, but a little review never hurt anyone. So, linking verbs cannot take direct objects. Therefore, no accusative, direct object with a linking verb, so the verb to be. Instead, it takes a predicate nominative. So, in this example, Marcus puer est, we have two nominatives, Marcus and puer. Marcus is our subject, so Marcus est, Marcus is, and then puer, also a nominative, is our predicate nominative. Marcus is a boy. For our verb possum posse patui, to be able, this is one of several verbs that take a complementary infinitive, meaning that they need an infinitive to complete the meaning of the verb. For example, if you were to say, I am able, someone might very legitimately ask you to do what? What you answer would be the complementary infinitive. I am able to read Latin. Okay, so before we can get started, we of course need to know how our verbs conjugate. So we're going to do sum esse fui futorum first. In the present indicative, and I'll point out here that the verb to be doesn't actually have an active or a passive. It just is, because it means is. So you don't need to say that this is the present indicative, the present active indicative. You can just say present indicative. Remember that it has a somewhat irregular conjugation, sum es est, sumus estis sunt, right? And then here are the translations. Of course, the verb to be has a second principal part, which means it has a present infinitive, which is esse, which translates as to be. I call that the Hamlet infinitive, right? To be, esse out, non esse, to be or not to be. You learned in Latin 1, if you had me for Latin 1 last year, the imperfect and the future conjugations. Imperfect, aram, aras, erat, aramus, eratus, erant. The most technically accurate translation for the imperfect of to be would be I was being, but the Romans themselves used the imperfect of sum to be more or less synonymous with the perfect of sum, so it's okay to translate it I was, you were, he was, we were, y'all were, and they were. The future, aro, aris, arit, arimus, eritus, erunt, of course translates as will be, so I will be, you will be, he, she, or it will be, we will be, y'all will be, they will be. Okay, so possum, as I have said, is a compound of sum. So you put the little prefix on the beginning of the word, and suddenly it's not just I am, sum, it's possum, I am able. Now here's a little trick. When the conjugated form of the verb to be begins with an S, like sum, sumus, and sunt, the prefix is going to be pos. When the conjugated form of the verb to be begins with an E, like es, est, and estus, the prefix is going to be pot. So, with that in mind, you get possum, potes, potes, possumus, potestus, possunt. Okay? Present infinitive, also a little irregular. Posse means to be able. Now, the prefix for the imperfect indicative and the future indicative is going to be POT all the way through, because the conjugated form of the verb to be always begins with an E for the imperfect and the future indicative. So that's super easy. Padaram, padaras, padarat, padaramas, padaratas, padarant. So I was able, you were able, he, she, or it was able, we were able, y'all were able, and they were able. And then the future, padaro, padaris, padarit, padarimus, padaritus, padarunt. I will be able, you will be able, he, she, or it will be able, we will be able, y'all will be able, they will be able. Okay, so let's just talk a couple more seconds more about the complementary infinitive. The complementary infinitive, as I said, completes the meaning of certain verbs, and two of the verbs that you've learned, now posse, but also in the past debere, which means to ought, right? It can also mean to owe, but when it takes an infinitive, it's almost always going to be to ought. These are two of the most common verbs that take a complementary infinitive. So let's look at an example. Bonus populum laudare potest. So we have our conjugated form of to be able, potest. It is third person singular, so if it has a subject, it's going to be nominative singular. Is there a nominative singular in the sentence? Why, yes, there is. Here it is, bonus. So we're going to translate subject, verb, complementary infinitive, direct object. So the good man is able to praise the people. Okay, ladies, so if you have any questions, be sure to bring them up tomorrow in class, and I will see you then. Have a good day.